Just a simple mountain lad, hunting meat for Ma and Dad. He would go out in the mountains in depression days so sad. With a bow and arrow straight, he'd put meat upon the grate of the fireplace in the cabin, where he learned to love, not hate. Earl Durand, born too late, a mountain man. He was shot down in the Tetons by the law's bloodthirsty band. Bound and lightly crag to crag, Earl Durand would hunt the stag. Elk and moose neat too he brought, just to fill his hungry bag. Skinned him out and used the hides to keep warm his young insides. With the buckskin clothes he wore on his lonely mountain rides. Earl Durand, born too late, a mountain man. He was shot down in the Tetons by the law's bloodthirsty band. One day with meat so raw, Earl was captured by the law, hauled away to Cody jail, bedded down on a cot of straw. Then he fled into the hills, leaving behind the city's ills. When the lawmen came to get him, Earl those greedy hunters drills. Earl Durand, born too late, a mountain man. He was shot down in the Tetons by the law's bloodthirsty band. About 6'2", 250 pounds, he was a crack shot. Throw a marble in the air and he'd shatter it in a million fragments every time. He went to high school for a while, but he didn't dig that scene very much, and so he took off into the mountain wilderness there, the Wind River Mountains of Wyoming. Started living off the land, making his own clothes out of buckskin. Let his hair grow out, let his beard grow out. Well, the folks back in town, they didn't dig his scene very much either, so one day they hauled him in for hunting elk out of season. Found him guilty, sentenced him to 6 months in jail. Well, from where he was at, in his jail cell window, he could see the Wind River Mountains, the mountains that he loved. But then one day the DA come in and started talking to him about some rich rancher's cattle that had been shot, about pinning the whole thing on him. So Earl says to the DA, he says, well, if I'm found guilty of that, what's it going to mean? So the DA says to him, well, you'll have to spend 2 years in the state penitentiary at Rawlins. Now, 2 years is an awful long time, and from Rawlins' jail cell window, he wouldn't be able to see those mountains that he loved. So one day when the guard come in with his breakfast, he conked him over the head with a milk bottle. When he come to, he told him to drive him out to his folks' place. He sent him back to town with a message then that he didn't want to kill nobody, he just wanted to live free as he wanted to live. But that if they come after him, he'd shoot to kill. So the sheriff and his deputy, they come out after him, and he shot them both, and he took off into the hills. In the wilderness he lay, changing lair from day to day. Come to town to get some shells, see his folks, then get away. Earl Durand, born too late, a mountain man. He was shot down in the Tetons by the law's bloodthirsty band. When Park County got too hot, Earl decided to change his spot. Rambled down through Yellowstone to the Tetons at a trot. Then the sheriff swore so hard he called out the National Guard, and with howitzers and mortars they played down their last full card. Earl Durand, born too late, a mountain man. He was shot down in the Tetons by the law's bloodthirsty band. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, howitzers and mortars after one lone man sitting up there in the ridge, and the National Guard, too. They sent 2 men up after him and hollered up, Earl, you know we got you, so why don't you give yourself up? Well, from about 1,000 yards, he picked them both off with 2 shots. Come nightfall, he'd slip through the lines and go out and get himself some food, and then before dawn, he'd slip through the lines again and get back up in the ridge and play their games with him. Pretty soon he was out of ammunition, so he cut off his beard and cut off his hair with the knife that he had up there. He come down to the line then, and he says to the man there, say, have they got that Earl Durand feller yet? The guy says, nope. So Earl Durand says, well, I'm about out of ammunition. The other guy says, well, I'm about out too. So Earl says to him, well, how about driving us both to town? We can get some more ammunition. So the guy drove them both to town. Earl, he went into the bank where he had some money. Townfolk heard he was in there, and they gathered outside. Earl, he come out with a bank teller in front of him at gunpoint. Some trigger-happy 16-year-old kid shot him from the crowd, and by reflex action, he shot and killed the teller. And then he turned his own gun in his own self, and he shot himself. Someone later asked the kid how he felt about killing that notorious outlaw fella, Earl Durand. The kid said, sick. But Earl was free as air, and down from his mountain lair he'd slip through the lines at night, and at dawn he'd not be there. Till at last, with food all gone and his stomach pinched and drawn, he faced them in the twilight, and their bullets cut him down. Earl Durand, born too late, a mountain man. He was shot down in the Tetons by the law's bloodthirsty band. Earl just wanted to live free, just the same as you and me. But the game law said oh no, and so this free soul had to go. And his flight was called a crime, although in an earlier time he'd have been a mountain man instead of shot down in his prime. Earl Durand, born too late, a mountain man, called the Tarzan of the Tetons, killed by civilization's hand.